been such an amazing and rewarding experience to start this whole process of, having a second home in Italy. We both look at each other like we're traveling to Italy next week for Easter, and we can't wait. Last night, we were saying to each other, next week at this time, we're going to be on the plane to Italy. And it's so funny because my husband is not Italian, but he has embraced this, or not of any Italian blood. And he's embraced this lifestyle. So like, it's shocking to me sometimes, but he loves it. He loves the people. He doesn't speak a word of Italian. He communicates through Google Translate. And it's funny to me and it's beautiful to me. And the Italian people have been so welcoming to us on so many levels. And it's just, I can't really, people, from New York, they go to Florida. And yeah, it's nice. The weather in Florida is beautiful. But honestly, I think that we did the best thing for us. I really do.
That's great. I mean, it's your second marriage. It's almost like a recreation of a new life
Yes.
in this thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a fabulous area. We go there a lot. It's only a 2-hour drive from Rome. And
Yes.
we visit a lot of the wineries and the thermal baths in that area. So
Yes.
it's really got a lot going for it.
And we fly into Rome when we go there. So we fly into Rome. We actually got a car. We keep it at the Rome airport. And we drive from Rome to Montalcino. Actually, our home is in San Giovanni d'Asso, which is in the commune of Montalcino. So we drive and along the A1, it's an easy drive. It's like 2.5 hours from the Rome airport. So it's not bad at all. We make it work.
And so you leave a car all the time at the airport.
Yes. The only time we're not going to leave the car is this trip because we're actually going to get the car serviced while we're gone until June, our next trip. So
okay, gotcha.
We make it work. We found people at the Rome airport that is like a parking garage. They keep the car charged for you. They wash the car. And when I get to the airport, when I land, I call them. I'm here. We've arrived. And they bring the car right to the terminal for us.
Oh, perfect.
And it's like $100 a month, which, it's an expense, yes. But, when you come from New York and you go to a parking garage for an hour and it's $55, $100 for the month to keep my car safe. And we've had, great experience with these people. They're great, reliable. And they wash the car, they keep it charged. I mean, it's great. They fill my tires with air if I ask them. So it's a great service, and it's an expense, as I said, but it works for us.
Yeah, that sounds great. And, it is indeed a great location, no doubt about it. You're from Brooklyn, and you said you really lived those Italian tradition or Italian American, let's say, make all those foods, the struffoli at Christmas, and which is a typical Neapolitan thing. It's a Southern Italian thing. Whereas maybe in Tuscany, it might be more what we do. We make tortellini to have tortellini in broth. Yeah.
Yes, in the broth. Yes, it's different.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've made so many Tuscan friends now, and they learned from my Neapolitan ways. I teach, I'm like, oh, you guys don't do that here? And they're like, no. And I'm like, all right, then maybe it's an American thing, but then I do my research because I post all my food and I like to always provide history of the food recipes. And then I'm like, oh no, it's a Southern thing, so it's funny.
Yeah, it is. So what would you consider your platform or your brand to be? Recipes or?
Well, I think it's all encompassing. So I think it's a lifestyle. People love to see the Italy lifestyle and learn about how we restored a home in Italy. People love the food. My demographic really is people around my age, so the 40 to 60 range is really my demographic. Most of the people who follow me have strong Italian roots, and my recipes bring them back to their grandma and their grandma's no longer here anymore. And wow, Dina, I haven't had that in so long. And you just posted it and it brought back so many memories of being in the kitchen with my grandma. I'm going to make this, please. Give me the recipe. So even like for Easter, I just created a free online, ebook of my Italian American Easter, I called it. And it's some
Yeah, I saw that. I downloaded the recipes and had a look. It's great.
Yeah, so there's, so there's, and I think for a lot of people, it's that connection to the food. So I do mostly post the food recipes and mostly all Italian food because that's what I eat. Um, and then I also like to, and I've started more to share like the decorating ideas. People, when I go to Italy now and I do some of my work from there, I'm going to share more of how I decorated my home in Italy. Whereas now that the restoration is done and I shared that whole process, monthly updates of that with my followers, now it's more like, okay, so how did I decorate this home in Italy? And so, I like to share all of it. I love to share the traveling to Italy aspects. Like, I shared, I was with my boys in the Dolomites in January, and I shared a beautiful, luxurious hotel that we stayed at. But then I also share the small little B&Bs that you could travel to in Tuscany that for €100 a night, you could have these really authentic experiences. So I like to share like all of that, the more high-end stuff, the more low-end budget-friendly things. So all over, I guess, I think I would like to say I'm more of a lifestyle brand. And now that I have my cookbook, I also sold my olive oil that we produced from my home. I brought it over to America and it was so well received. We sold out in less than 24 hours. And it was, so now I have the shop. So I sell the olive oil. I sell my cookbook. Since I sold out my olive oil, I brought over my neighbor's olive oil. He's the one who helps me with my trees when I'm gone. And he was so excited to do the collaboration. So we have Nico's olive oil now that I sell from my shop. I sell my friend's Italian spice from there. So it's like it's evolved into a whole like kind of business for me, which has been wonderful because I was a restaurant owner for I was a teacher. Then I stayed home with my kids for like 2 years and then I had to go back to work. So I went back to work in the restaurant business. I worked and worked and worked. And then I opened my own place. And then I decided to close back in 2014 and stay home with my kids during those teen years. And I'm so glad that I did. Because I felt like I needed to be there for them because being in the restaurant business, I really wasn't. I worked morning, noon, and night. And I stayed home and then 2020 came, we were all home because of the pandemic. And I was like, you know what? I really was itching to do something. Like, I've always been like a doer, like, so that's when I started this with a group of girlfriends. And then it kind of like dwindled down to just me because people don't realize it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get the recipes out there and to test recipes that people can trust and retest recipes, then to take pictures of the recipes, create a website, and almost like create a business out of it. And, well, I have created a business out of it. So it's evolved into this now, which is at a point where my children are grown and my last one is a senior in high school. He'll go to college at Boston College next year. I'm so excited. And now this is something that I can do, and I could do it from here and I could do it from Italy. So it works out.
Would you envision ever getting back into the restaurant business or some kind of
No.
so you're sort of done with that?
Yes. It was a business that was, my grandparents were in it and I grew up around it. And then I do love it.
They had, Dina, a restaurant business, your
Yes, both
grandparents?
grandparents. My grandpa had a luncheonette in Brooklyn. And then my other grandpa had an Italian restaurant in the South Street Seaport years ago. So I did grow up around the restaurant business.
Okay, so he had a restaurant there. Oh, wow. That's a big commitment and very
Yes.
Italian, I would imagine. Italian American or
Yes, very Italian. Yes, his was very Italian. My other grandpa had more of a luncheonette, which was more like a diner. In Brooklyn, it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, and that's the restaurant I opened, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it was, I was there from early in the morning till late at night.